A market that did not break, the GCC events industry, from geopolitical shock to structural reset. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel carried out airstrikes against Iran. The tourism market responded immediately. According to CoStar/STR data, Dubai hotel occupancy in February stood at 84.7%, down 5.9% year-on-year. March was harsher, 33.1% against 49.3% the previous year. Some properties fell below 10%. Hundreds of flights were cancelled. Of the 269 events planned across the Gulf for spring, the majority were postponed or cancelled. The numbers look like a crisis. In reality, they are a test, and the industry is passing it right now. Q1 shock. What happened? The impact was asymmetric. The Western corporate segment, Europe and the United States, virtually disappeared. Air connectivity was disrupted, insurance risks rose, and corporate travel policies blocked business trips. Meanwhile, regional demand, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Asia, held. The market split along passport lines. Those who live nearby did not leave. The specific losses are clear. The JP Morgan MENA Summit was cancelled. The UITP Summit 2026 was cancelled entirely. Arabian travel markets shifted from May to August. M&I Expo was moved to 2027. X by MICebook relocated from Oman to Spain. According to Northbourne Advisory, the UAE alone recorded 17 cancellations and 50 postponements. But amid this list, the Dubai World Cup ran on schedule. Art Dubai was reformatted and held in May. Nowruz brought together 300 guests. The first GTO fitness test outside Russia took place at Dubai Sports City. By April, more than 238 events and attractions across the GCC had resumed operations. Demand did not disappear. It shifted. GCC, each country has its own version of the crisis. The impact was distributed unevenly across the region, and this is important to understand, rather than treating the GCC as a monolith. Qatar found itself in the most vulnerable position. Iranian missiles and drones specifically targeted Doha and the Ras Laffan infrastructure. The airport closed. Air connectivity collapsed. The Qatar Economic Forum was postponed. The finalissima between Argentina and Spain, scheduled for March in Doha, was cancelled. MotoGP and the Diamond League were pushed to summer. Qatar Airways is gradually restoring routes via controlled corridors, but market confidence remains fragile. Bahrain, the smallest and geographically most vulnerable GCC state, absorbed some of the Iranian strikes. Debris from intercepted missiles fell in residential areas, and sirens sounded regularly. For the events industry, this meant a near-complete halt of the international segment during spring. Kuwait played the role of strategic balancer. Direct strikes on its territory were minimal, but the closure of airspace and Hormuz logistics weighed on business activity. International events were either postponed or converted to regional formats centered on local audiences. Oman traditionally maintains relations with all parties and suffered no direct strikes. Nonetheless, the industry was affected. The Muscat International Book Fair was postponed. X by MICebook moved to Spain. Organizers cite not a security threat, but the regional situation, which more accurately reflects the nature of the losses, not fear, but logistics and audience confidence. Renovations, a pause as an investment. Amid falling occupancy, several flagship UAE properties closed for major refurbishment. Burj Al Arab, for the first time since 1999, for 18 months. Armani Hotel, Park Hyatt Dubai, St. Regis the Palm, JW Marriott Marquis, Radisson Blu Media City, simultaneously, one after another. Analysts draw an important distinction. This is not what happened in 2020. Back then, renovations were impossible. No labor, no materials. Today, logistics work. A smart operator uses a low-demand window to enter the next cycle with a refreshed product. This is not about new carpets. It is about rethinking the entire asset philosophy. ESG standards, energy efficiency, smart technology, water recycling systems. Many of these closures are not contraction. They are preparation, says Klaus Assmann, CEO of United Hospitality Management for the Middle East. The venue market has temporarily contracted, but what opens in 2027 will be of a different caliber. Saudi Arabia. From volume to value. The Saudi events market is undergoing a quiet but fundamental transformation. Corporate demand is becoming increasingly targeted. Not hold a conference, but solve a specific problem. Close a tender, introduce teams, get a signature on an agreement. Business travel is taking on a distinctly project-based character, and event formats are shifting accordingly. Large plenary conferences are giving way to compact but high-intensity meetings, leadership retreats, client summits, partner sessions, training programs. Fewer people, more substance. Networking is becoming curated, not accidental. Corporate demand has expanded and become more targeted, says Abdul Rahman Al-Ghamdi, Director of Sales at Shangri-La Jeddah. We see a stable base of government-oriented traffic and major Saudi corporations, where growth is driven precisely by project-oriented travel. Hybrid format has ceased to be a temporary solution and has become a standard expectation. Clients no longer want a room with a projector. They want guarantees, response time, SLAs, AV reliability, streaming bandwidth. The real competition is unfolding elsewhere. The quality of curation, precision in audience engagement, and creating an atmosphere no algorithm can replicate. Vision 2030 is generating not tourist, but business demand here, sustained and less dependent on external conditions. What is changing structurally? Amid the geopolitical noise, the UAE is steadily building the next layer of its economy: manufacturing, technology, project-driven. Dubai's GDP grew by 6.4% in Q4 2025. The Make It in the Emirates Forum in May 2026 brought offtake agreements, investment deals, and intergovernmental partnerships to ADNEC. This was not an exhibition. It was a working instrument of industrial policy. The client profile is also changing. Corporate clients no longer want a beautiful event. They want measurable outcomes. CFOs demand ROI and ESG reporting. Organizers who can speak the language of business metrics are winning out over those who still sell atmosphere. What authorities are doing? The response was swift. From 1st April, Dubai introduced a 3-month moratorium on key fees: hotel sales fee, tourism dirham, and F&B taxes. In parallel, an additional support package is being prepared, on top of the already launched 1 billion dirham package. On April 12th, GCC tourism ministers held an emergency video conference and reaffirmed their commitment to the 2024 to 2030 strategy and a unified visa policy. Not a single long-term project has been cancelled. The Dubai World Trade Center expansion, ADNEC development, the Gold Line Metro, Etihad Rail, all are on track. Conclusion: the GCC events market has not collapsed. The geopolitical shock of Q1 is painful but temporary. The structural shifts, from volume to value, from tourism dependency to a diversified economy are permanent. Those who use this pause to rebuild teams, refresh formats, and double down on regional demand will enter 2027 with a competitive advantage. Normality has changed its address. The industry understands this.